Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay guys, this footage is surfaced. It's today's footage of our sun in central Minnesota. That's in the States. Again, what you'll see is the sun flickering in the footage. I mean, there's about 10 minutes worth of very interesting captures of our sun and anomalies around it. We can see at 6 o'clock and around about 4:30, two celestial bodies almost orbiting near our sun. And again, you can see the sun almost like pulsing, like a strobe. And what that suggests to us, at least in terms of light as it arrives to Earth, is that something's interrupting the sun's source of energy, and it's causing it to flicker like that in our horizon. It shouldn't do that. The sun's very consistent, always has been. And at the moment, that seems to be happening around our sun. And I mean, all this technology that's been used, look at that celestial body. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal, to be honest with you. And it's there. It's a real celestial. All these planets that we're capturing in our skies at the moment, this is exactly what you're seeing. Now, they can't really explain this away, to be honest with you. I don't care whether they called it Mercury or any other planet for that matter. From our solar system, it's never been precedented. None of the planets in our solar system have never ever looked as big as what we're seeing right now in our skies. We've never been in that sort of proximity, not even to Mars, to be honest with you, in relationship to how they basically look in our horizon. These are very big celestial bodies, so it does clearly suggest that they're quite close to us. Again, you'll see the sun's refractions as it basically reflects on these celestial bodies and then projects them into our atmosphere. Okay, some of these must be objects. Certain characteristics display behavior indicative of fast-moving objects. I'm not sure what that was, but I guess you guys read it. Again, there's ardent researchers who are basically genuinely providing very genuine captures and footage. I mean, this isn't doctored at all. It's what you see in the heavens is exactly what we're seeing on our screens at the moment. And this was taken in Minnesota. This refraction is very interesting. And you've seen an upload that I've done previously, which is basically about the solar sun simulator. And what we see is a refraction that's very similar to the one that we just saw, a split into almost a cone shape. And we've done an upload on the solar sun simulator. For those of you who haven't seen it, I certainly recommend you watch solar sun simulator part 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 respectively. I don't think there's a part 6. But anyway, again, there's very interesting information there, and some, at least the NASA technology, the patent for the solar sun simulator is talked about at depth by a physicist. So I mean, that can't be a refraction. It's got a three-dimensional, shape to it. Okay, it's got some sort of dimension in it. So it certainly can't be a refraction of anything. It's a real celestial object. It's got a very interesting shape as well. And don't forget, this system, not everything that's trailing in it is circular. Some are very big rocks, which like any other rock, would have that shape, which is not necessarily circular, but very rough and jagged. Anyway, look, I mean, there's some interesting things happening around our sun, and you'll understand why there's so much chemtrailing happening. And we can't explain, for the life of us, well, at least the explanations given to us so far don't seem to tally up. It's very interesting. You can see that star, the neutron-proton star, which seems to be smaller. And don't forget, it's rotating as well around its barycenter. So not all the time is it going to be in one position. In fact, it won't be in one position at any time. it continues moving in its own orbit. And right now, our sun and that proton star seem to be orbiting around each other whilst we're orbiting our sun. And the proton star's got its own celestial bodies orbiting it on a retrograde orbit. I think you're quite familiar with the script now, Marcel, and you probably understand how the model is probably working. Wow, okay, did you see what I could see? Now look at those refractions, they're very interesting. Now the green celestial body that we've been mentioned will be seen in our sky. Right? Apparently there's two huge gas giants in this system. This is what we've discovered recently as we're basically understanding each individual celestial body that's part of this binary star system and picking them up and then studying them at length. We've been able to deduce to some level or the other that there's two gas giant planets, huge ones, that are part of this binary system. And then there's another one which is at least popularly known as Nibiru, and it's the blue planet. Okay, so what you've got over here potentially, I think, is the red and the blue planet that I discussed. The one that I think these are reflections of the planets that I saw in my dream above our horizon, along with a very bright white star with a blue haze around it. This green planetary projection, again, is a refraction from the sun, but it must be a celestial body close to it, which has been projected onto our atmosphere. And that particular planet seems to be the one that they're trying to explain away in the National Geographic of late in the article that they published and I shared with you guys on WhatsApp. And you can see it move. It seems to have its own plasma field as well, right? Wow, there seems to be some sort of plasma field with it as well. And then there you go, other anomalies. It just gets very interesting, to be honest with you. You see an almost hexagon shape to these refractions as well. And I did an upload. I don't think I've shared it on WhatsApp yet, but those of you who subscribe to the channel, you must have come across it, where it basically explains the sun's refractions. And what I did was take some very old footage. It was just a little bit of an investigation. It didn't take much on my part, but I took some old footage of a high altitude balloon project, and the camera. I think it was back in 2005 or something. The cameras basically went around about 60,000 feet above our atmosphere, facing the sun, and then you saw the refractions from the sun, and all the refractions were circular. Whereas right now, what we're seeing is a hexagon shape. Okay, and then I even showed a NASA model and a NASA 3D rendition of a space project, and they showed in that rendition, trying to be as true to reality as much as possible, because it was a virtual rendition. The refractions in that as well were circular ones. Now, if the hexagon refraction was a natural occurrence, then they would have basically reflected that in NASA's 3D rendition. And as well as the same refraction shape would have been picked up in the high altitude balloon project back in 2005. Because they weren't using the solar sun simulator back then, they've only just started using it recently to cover these celestial bodies. And also, whilst the sun is obviously struggling in terms of its own energy being drained, they're basically amplifying that using lenses and this solar sun simulator. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. It's got dual purposes. I personally think it's got three purposes, but two of which, at the risk of not complicating matters further, are what we've already discussed and mentioned many times. Now that video has been uploaded as well on the channel, and you'll get to see it. Now, do you see that? If these were indeed, and look at that, that's a hexagon shape. You can very clearly see it. Our sun is not hexagon. And if this was an anomaly caused by the lens itself, whilst looking at the sun, then right now the finger has covered the sun. So that lens, that sun's glare isn't affecting the lens. So we wouldn't really see a refraction in the sky, which is at least hexagonal, unless there was, indeed, some sort of technology being used which is made of hexagon panels. Hence these hexagon refractions. So I mean, just from this little litmus test, by using your finger and covering the sun, you can do away with any claims that suggest that it's just the way lenses and cameras, especially the new ones, are basically designed, where they basically create these refractions which are shaped in hexagons as opposed to circular ones, because of the sort of technology they use for lenses in mobile phone cameras or camcorders for that matter. That argument is basically unfounded, simply because if that was the case, then right now the finger's covering the sun, there is no sun's glare, yet we still find these refractions. And we find these anomalies as well. So these anomalies are real, right? Because I mean, again, if they were a reflection of the sun, then you wouldn't see the circular body right now in the heavens, because there is no sun there, which would then be refracted. So that has to be a real object, okay, to the right of us. That certainly looks like a hexagon. So again, I think that's that technology where it can cover. Then there's some parts of the sky where they have difficulty covering it, right? And this is how people catch it as well in their images. Is the odd few that slip out of the crack. I mean, seriously, there's something very wrong with that. Our sun is circular. We shouldn't have hexagonal refractions coming off our sun. And I'm catching them with my own mobile phone. I know many other individuals who've sent me images that they've taken themselves personally, and they're hexagon in nature. And yeah, strongly suggestive of the sort of technology we believe that's been used. So there's a patent from NASA. It's a solar sun simulator. Look it up, study it. And you'll find that the panel looks very, very eerily similar, the panels do, in shape to the refractions that we're seeing in our sky. And anyway, I mean, if you look at the sun right now and look at the time of the month, then you'll know that it's not right. And the only reason it's not right is because the Nizam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a system. And that system can't be replicated by mankind, to any sort of extent, to be honest with you. And you can see how artificial the sun is because of its brightness. It's very crisp, it's very bright, it just looks manufactured. And whereas the sun has this, it has a natural look to it, even though it's a bright source of light. There's something natural about it. There's something very unnatural about the sun as I look at it, when I look out of my window or when I'm outside and I'm looking straight at it head on. Crudely, if I was to describe it crudely, then I'd say it looks like a flood lamp, a halogen lamp, and it doesn't feel right. And then again, not just the light and how it looks so bright, but also the fact that we've got the temperature. It seems to be very, very hot. Okay, so they're not being able to maintain that natural kind of heat for this part of the year, simply because the technology they've got up there has got its limitations. So it seems to provide this constant kind of type of brightness as well as heat, which doesn't seem to be adjustable. But then again, there seems to be some lenses as well as evidence of that as well, that they're using magnifying lenses, and that was the third element to this technology I was discussing, but I didn't want to complicate matters and discuss that further. It's something that's just discussed in our research circles. I just want the information to be digestible for most people. And the moment you start talking about stuff that obviously goes off on a tangent, then you kind of um, it just becomes a bit more overwhelming and not conducive to drawing the right sort of attention to this. SubhanAllah, again on the right, that's a very, very interesting. And you'll now, I think you'll become kind of adept at recognizing these celestial bodies. I'm sure you've seen something very similar in terms of refractions from images and footage that I've shared so far. Okay, anyway, I think it's just more of the same. But I mean, it's just interesting images, isn't it? It's just looking straight into the sky and capturing what we see right now. I've shared an image with you guys on WhatsApp from the Chilean astronomers. We understand it not very well, apparently, and maybe slightly naively, they contacted NASA. That's what we've been told. And at the moment, most of the material they've got has been confiscated, and I think they've been detained as well. At any rate, we got some of the images of the interesting image that may have kind of resonated with uh, um, uh, uh, audiences. I've shared with you guys on WhatsApp. Um, but as we get more material, I guess I don't think they can stop it now, because it's becoming more and more prevalent. It's becoming more and more obvious. There's more material surfacing. You've got the Hurricane Matthew right now. I mean, you can't explain these sort of weather anomalies uh, just by a single cause within our atmosphere. It just can't be, to be honest with you. And there seems to be a huge threat in terms of the sort of climate they're expecting in Florida, and then maybe perhaps New York. And that's worrying, to be honest with you. I've got family there, and there's so much. There's only so much you can do. It's from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and you have to basically just you know um, turn to Him in faith and pray for the best. But one thing's clear, that the authorities don't want us to know about it. I don't think they have got any intentions of informing the public about it. Just recently, Hamburg distributed brochures, and that's another thing that's come out in our research circles, of a threat of flooding from up to, I think, what was it, 10 foot um, uh, um, uh, depth of flooding, water flooding. And they've been given brochures have been handed out in Germany to the local population what to do in the emergency and flooding, and why they're expecting those sort of floods. And don't forget, Germany is just a stone's throw away from the UK. It's part of Europe, and they're taking quite a few measures now, and there seems to be a pattern that's emerging there as well. So I mean, again, we need to pay attention to what's going on. And thanks, guys. Jazakallah khairan wa ahsan jaza for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.